Hello, everybody, and welcome to Music Industry Insights Worldwide. Today we've got Robert Blasko with us. Hi, Robert. How are you?
How is it going? Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, for sharing your story, your expertise, and your views with us. Do you want to tell
Yeah.
us about yourself, where you're from, and what you've done in music?
Ooh, well, that's a big one. Lo, let me let me give the quick summary.
Yeah.
My origin story is one of a musician. I got a record deal with my very first band called Cryptic Slaughter in 1985, and I was in high school.
Yeah.
Just to put that correctly, so I was 15 years old in high school, and then the following years, 86, 87, 88, we put out a record every year, and we went on tour and stuff. Yeah, smaller stuff, like, because we were all in high school. So, and it was the 80s, right? So there was no connection to the outside world. There was no internet and cell phones and things of that nature. So anyway, by the time I graduated high school, I'd already put out 3 records, been on tour. And so had to, that was the moment that you have to move out of your parents' house and kind of
Yeah.
become an adult. And I didn't want to become an adult, and I just wanted to chase the rock and roll dream.
I still
So,
want to be an
so
adult.
yes, so that's what I did. I moved to Hollywood and chased the rock and roll dream,
Cool.
and got record deals, did stuff, went on tour. And the long and the short of that is that eventually ended up leading into me just becoming like a hired gun bass player for all dudes that were in bands, but now their band name was their name.
Saw that.
So so I played bass in Danzig's band for a short time. Then I joined Rob Zombie's band
Yeah.
for 8 years and a few records. Then I joined Ozzy's band for like 15 years and a few records. And now I'm back in Rob Zombie's band. Anyway, all of that is sort of my musical career. But 20 years ago, I also started a management company because I knew that I couldn't be a hired gun to dude's name of band forever, and that wasn't a sustainable, scalable scenario. And so I was like, but I still want to be in the music business. I still want to be surrounded by that energy and spirit of things. So I started a management company. I found some bands to let me manage them.
Yeah.
I did that. And 2 years ago, I merged that boutique company with a bigger company called 10th Street Entertainment, which manages uh, Five Finger Death Punch and Motley Crue, and we have Papa Roach, and it's a pretty good roster. And my little roster is a healthy addition to their already big, sexy roster of bands. And but it's in the hard rock, heavy metal space, which I'm very comfortable with.
Hi.
Um, and then about 7 years ago, I also got more into the branding, marketing space and adapting that extra kind of skill set.
Yeah.
And I've been with a beverage company called Liquid Death pretty much since its inception, about 6.5, 7 years ago. And I've been sharpening that skill set of marketing and bringing that to the business of music as well.
Yeah.
And I think that pretty much gets us up to date. So look, musician, manager, marketer, anything in music that starts with an M, like I'll pretty much figure out a way to do it.
I love that. Thank you so, so much. And I really appreciate all the stuff that you're bringing to the show today. So, can I just ask you, being on international global stages, working for some amazing superstars, what has that taught you along the way, especially in your journey?
Well, being a hired gun is a bit of a different animal than, say, being a band member in a band that is successful.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, like, I'm in a cover band, because like I had nothing to do with any of the music that I play on stage. And my role or my job description is to make sure that that guy with the microphone looks as awesome as possible
Yes.
because me as a individual had nothing to do with any of this. Like I am super fortunate to get on stage and play in front of
Well,
10,000 people, 50,000 people, 100,000 people, massive shows and festivals and audiences, super appreciative. And I do not take that opportunity for granted. But my job in that role is to make sure that guy looks great because I did not sell one t-shirt and I did not sell one ticket to this event. And I got to make sure that I'm part of the bigger picture of what the audience sees, right? So it's a bit of a job, granted, the most fun job you could ever think of having. But you know, it's interesting because at this point in my life, it's so much not my identity and so much not what I do, meaning that I don't wake up every day and I'm like, oh, whoop, I'm a rock star, right? Like, and I get to go about my life being a rock star. Whereas like Rob Zombie wakes up every day and he's Rob Zombie, right? I'm not. I gotta get up and I gotta go to work. So it's kind of fun that at this point in my life, like playing in a band like Rob Zombie is just not my identity. It's a thing that I'm able to do and super appreciative that I get to do, but I do it at nighttime when no one's watching. And if you didn't know and if I didn't tell you, you wouldn't even know that I'm in the band, which is kind of a fun little aspect because I think that there's a lot of people that would totally murder someone for the opportunity to be in a band at this level. And like I said, I by all means am very appreciative of it. But it's just at this point in my life, being in the band is not my identity. Being in the music business is certainly my identity, but being in the band is just like the side gig,
yeah.
you know?
What works for you, right? And how that fits your personality and what you want to achieve in the industry. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I want to be around the energy of music. I don't have to be playing it. You
Yes.
know, I don't have to be at the forefront of
Yeah.
of where it's coming from. But I definitely want to be surrounded by the energy of music for as long as I possibly can.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And obviously,
Yeah.
very few people have worked as a manager, touring musician, and a brand strategist. So tell us a little bit more about how you see the industry from an angle that's changed all the time.
It's interesting. Um, the the industry has certainly catapulted the the pandemic, like that shutdown,
Yeah.
changed a lot of things. Obviously, during the pandemic, you either had to survive or die.
Yeah.
And you had to be innovative and creative, and there was a lot of things in hindsight that were probably pretty stupid. But at the time, you didn't think of it that way.
No.
You know, and like a lot of like the live streaming stuff was kind of silly, you know, in hindsight,
Yeah.
you know, and if you're able to kind of look back on things like, you know, hindsight is always 2020, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of visibility. You're like, man, we should have just hibernated.
Um,
We should have just wrote a lot of music and we should have recorded a lot of music and really used the time to kind of be invisible, but then whenever the world returned to kind of come out with a very fresh perspective of music. I think in hindsight, those are maybe things that would have been how you would have approached it. But we didn't know when and if we were ever going to come out of this thing, and we couldn't do shows, and a lot of the income had dried up. So you know you had to get creative. So you know I don't I don't regret anything that we did. Um, but after that, things started to progress at a very rapid rate and things changed. Things got more expensive. A lot of things got more expensive. Touring definitely got more expensive. The Everyone came out of the pandemic all touring at once, so the competition for the dollar was very critical, in that the package that you had to put together had to really be of a significant value because you were competing with everyone at the exact same time, and people can't go to two shows in the same night. So they have to make a decision.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can't go to multiple shows in a week.
Yeah.
So they have to really kind of make very specific decisions of where their money is being spent.
Yeah.
We're kind of just coming out of that now, but the result of a lot of that is that things have become expensive, and so it's become a real challenge to be able to tour nowadays. I think from the business side, there's been a lot of the digital marketing really elevated.
Yeah.
TikTok has really kind of blown up as being a real critical part of people listening to music and where they listen to music and how they interact with music, and having the utility of your songs being usable for content and within content, and how that could potentially break a band or drive attention to a band and convert into streams on Spotify. That's been a newer thing in the last 5 years. There's been a lot of digital products that have surfaced that have helped. If you look at the release strategy of the new Megadeth record, there was a lot of very innovative things that those guys did. It was almost a master class for 2025, 2026 of how to release a record. And it is very interesting. We definitely did a lot of digging on that one release in particular, of how they did it. But they use a lot of new products or products that have just become new to a lot of people. You can't just make a record and put it out and try and market to your Instagram following. That's not a strategy anymore. So there's a lot there. And then with AI, the advent of AI, that's become a real thing that is moving at a very rapid pace.
Yeah.
That a lot of people don't know where to insert themselves into that conversation, and it's moving very fast. And if we don't wrap our heads around it and get involved, it's going to move really far past us, and we're going to be behind trying to catch up. So me personally, I've definitely inserted myself into AI and that AI conversation pretty significantly, because in a lot of ways, that is the undeniable future of how the business is going to operate.
Always has been that part
Yeah.
of the industry, hasn't it? Always keeping up to the technological advancements that we face. Thank you
Yes.
for answering that question. I also want to ask you, a lot more of the attention now is very short form content, short attention spans. How do artists really make money these days when everything is so short form? People are on social media, but that's not bringing longevity, which is what you have. This is what a lot of artists really want. How do they achieve that?
I don't know that, knowing everything that I know now,
Yeah.
I don't know that I would start a band now.
I know.
It's kind of funny because I joke about this, that whenever my first band started in 1985, 1986, heavy metal was not a career choice
It was a
in
passion.
in 1985 for for a bunch of young kids. Like you didn't look at you did it because you loved it.
Have
You
social
did you did it because it was like everything about it was just part of your DNA. You had to get it out of you, right? We had to go play shows. We had to get in a van. We had to be really kind of put ourselves in dangerous environments,
right?
and it was just who we were as kids at that time. And the thought of it was never about making money. It was never about a career. It was never about a job. It was just art, really. I mean, I think for, kind of at risk of sounding pretentious. But I almost kind of feel like that now.
Mhm.
Like,
Great.
like I don't know that you could look at music in how fragmented things are and and look at it like that's a career choice. Like whenever we were, not to sound like the old guy, but like whenever we were younger, there was a lot of gatekeeping that kind of kept things in check.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is that you you made a demo, you started a band, you made a demo, you kind of put it out there.
Uh-huh.
And if a record label liked it, they would
Take you on.
sign you and put out your record. And then that record would go in record stores and people would either buy it or they wouldn't buy it.
Yeah.
And people would either buy it enough to enable you to be able to go on tour and sell t-shirts and play in front of people and sell some tickets, or they wouldn't.
Oh, that's
And it was kind of, especially in the underground, right? Like it was a very simple kind of thing. Make music, find someone to put it out if you didn't have the ability to put it out yourself,
yeah.
and put it out, and hopefully it connects.
Mhm.
And that was really the process. And it either connected or it didn't, because not everyone that got a record deal and put out a record was a good band, but it certainly weeded out a lot of stuff.
Didn't it?
Whereas now streaming has put everything in front of everybody, and it's a lot harder
Yeah.
to get noticed. And then it's like almost like option paralysis. If you're like, okay, we're going to start a band and we're going to make music, but then like you said, but do we make a horizontal video that goes on YouTube? And then, or do we cut that up into vertical videos that go on TikTok? Are we mainly just going to go on TikTok and play the song acoustically and hopefully that connects? Like there's so many places to try and build a career, and all of those places have where careers have started. Yeah. Careers have started on YouTube. Careers have started on Instagram. Careers have started on MySpace. Careers have started on TikTok, right? And so, like, where do you even begin? Yeah. It's almost like you kind of just do the best you can, throw it out there, hope for the best.
Yeah.
And then a lot of it too, with all of these platforms, they're now at a point to where the algorithm is very constricting to the people that you can reach. So building a following used to be that was the goal. Now you can build a following, but now your content won't even reach the majority of those people, which is really frustrating. And then now that gatekeeping has sort of reappeared in the way of advertising. So it's like, oh, you want to reach those extra people that you can't reach that are outside of the scope of your algorithm? Well, that's going to cost you. And so if you want people to see your video on YouTube, or you want to reach more people on Instagram, you got to pay to advertise. And there's a whole other component of what is your budget? What does your budget even look like? And then how is that music going to connect, right? Like that's the other thing. It's like the value of a band that makes music to someone that could potentially propel your career, a manager, a booking agent, a record label. You have to have a fan base. Yes. Fans are the only currency that is going to elevate you if, in fact, you are looking to partner with someone that you think can help elevate you. But if there is no fan base and you have not done the work to cultivate a fan base, then you will not find any partners that can help you elevate, because what it says, if you have no fans and you have no sales, it means that to the outside industry, it means that your music isn't connecting. And if it's not connecting, there's nothing that I can do that can help you connect. And so now the responsibility of the artist is to build that fan base.
meaningful
Yeah.
connections, but not just the fan base, also the industry connections. Because I think a lot of people forget that too, right? It's not just about having your fans, it's understanding the industry, knowing who you're working with, and building those meaningful relationships. How do you think?
Yep. Yes. No, absolutely. And like I said, not to just to reiterate it because it's very important.
Yeah.
Your fan base
Mhm.
is your currency, your value, your relevancy, your point of leverage
Mhm.
specifically hinges around how big and how engaged of a fan base that you have.
Mhm.
And there is just no disputing that.
I think that's beautiful. And you also touched on algorithms, sorry, and your identity. How important is it to have that authentic identity over trying to just beat the algorithm or trying to put content out just for the sake of, being heard or seen?
One of the main secrets
Mhm.
of if like if I'm going to give away like
Yeah.
a secret that people I don't think under like they don't necessarily understand. And now it's more important than ever is that you can't just make music that you think is for everyone.
No,
You can't just do something, put it out there and hope that it finds an audience.
that's
Now we live in a world where we have the ability to diagnose and understand who we want to be our audience. Like you can actually build a psychographic profile of a specific avatar of who it is that you think would like your music.
yes.
And what I mean by that is that from a digital outreach standpoint, seemingly obvious, but from a music standpoint, and this maybe unfortunately kind of takes some of the love out of it, but it's just a reality. Look, if you want a career in this business,
It is now.
you have to understand
It's marketing.
who your music connects with. So you can't just write a song and hopefully it finds an audience. Like you actually have to make music that specifically identifies with an audience, meaning that what is the age range? Is the gender? Is it primarily male? Is it primarily female? Is it teenagers? Is it adults? Is it somewhere in the middle? Does it
All
and so and then whenever you can narrow that down, then what are their problems? What are their issues? What are they trying to escape from? Do they need to be empowered? Right? Do they need to be uplifted in some way? Are they just looking to scream something out loud? There's that to connect with an audience to build something that can provide you leverage and relevancy. The music has to connect with a very specific type of fan base and that music needs to be the soundtrack to their lives.
music's for
It because it's like you grew up at a certain time and as did I,
yeah.
and there is a certain amount of certain type of music from a certain era that is the DNA of my coming of age story. And to this day, whenever I hear that song or a song from that era, it takes me back to that happy time of coming of age,
Good old,
right?
the good old time, the good old days, I call them. Yeah.
Correct. And so the music that you make, your music has to kind of think about being that soundtrack of in someone's life.
Okay.
And how is that going to identify? How is that going to connect? How is it going to resonate with that person to the point that they want to stream your music, they want to buy your t-shirt, they want to buy a ticket, they want to come see you play, they want to shake your hand, they want to meet you, and they want to take a photo, right? To that level of degree, if
Yeah.
that music isn't connecting,
Doesn't work.
it's just not gonna work.
Right. And this is what it is. It's really about those connections and meaningful relationships. So I'm really good at. I'm really good at people. I love people. I like connection. I think a lot of artists these days, it's very self-driven. for me, it's never been about me. It's been about that connection with others, that feeling accepted, that part of belonging. Do you think that's the same?
I do, yes, I do agree with you. And it comes down to the idea of, look, if you're just an artist for the sake of being an artist, if you're an artist for the sake of making art, then you should go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
And you should write whatever you want, sing about whatever you want to sing about, put it out however you want, release it however you want. But your expectations have to be in line with that. And if it's like, it will find an audience and it will connect with whoever it's meaningful to. And from an artist perspective, that's how I want to, that's the only way that I want to be associated with. That's cool. But from my perspective, I don't know many people like that. I don't know musicians that are artists for the sake of being
Not many.
artists.
Not many.
Because they're always like, how come that person got a record deal? How come that person has more followers? How, there's always a level of comparison,
Yes.
of the idea of looking for some type of accolade. And if you say one thing and you stick to it, I respect you. But if you say that you don't care and that's just a cover for the fact that
you do care,
people don't care,
yeah.
Then I think that's kind of BS.
Yeah.
It's like anyone, like the majority of people that are in here are under the illusion that this can be what they do for a living.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, then a little bit of the art mentality has to be kind of removed and has to be replaced with more of an analytical, strategic
yes.
mentality of how you're going to connect.
Yeah, which is the harder and the trickier part for creatives, I think, especially. And I think it's a great point you make. It's about being authentic, it's connecting, but also having that real, personality. That's really important. A lot of people don't talk about personality, actually. How do you think that's so important to driving artist careers?
You are right. There is a really clear distinction between someone that operates with the creative side of the brain and someone that operates with the analytical side of the brain. And most of the time, those things cannot coexist.
Which is why
and
people,
and in some ways, that's sort of the unfortunate predatory nature of the origin of the music business.
Yeah.
Someone with the analytical brain approached someone with the creative brain and kind of took advantage of them in a lot of ways. Like if you talk to a lot of or you read stuff about sort of the sort of early era of like in the 40s and 50s and how musicians really got taken advantage of and royalties weren't paid out and but they didn't know, right? They there's a lot of situations where people just got like, oh, we'll just pay your rent. Mm-hmm. Oh, we'll just pay for your car. Whilst
they have any money in the bank.
Whilst the business is collecting all of the money. But yes, if you look under the hood of a record deal, it's not artist friendly. And it's specifically not artist friendly because the artist, I mean, I've been in that position, right? You're like, I'm in a room, I'm the artist, I have a record deal, and the liaison is an attorney.
Yes.
And the attorney is trying to explain it to you. And all the artist thinks is maybe I'm the exception. Maybe I'm the breakout star. Why couldn't it happen to me? Because seemingly it's happened to other people that are just as talented and good looking as myself. So what about it is is stopping me from taking this risk
Yeah.
of signing this record deal, giving away my masters, giving away my art, um, and for the really very small chance that it's going to explode and things are going to work out for me and I can renegotiate my deal and I can kind of start renegotiating those leverage points
Great.
and get a higher royalty rate and get a better return and all of that. I mean, that is like 1 in a million.
They also
And
say I'm one of them, 1 in a million.
yeah,
Say that.
yeah,
I do, and if you don't believe it, you can't see it, but you have. And this is another thing, Robert. Sorry to interrupt you on that. Is
yeah.
you don't believe in yourself. Who's going to believe in you? If you don't go out there and get it, who's going to go and get it for you? Right?
Well, that's certainly the world that we live in now. I mean, it's like because everything is analytics. Like, I'll give you a specific, for instance.
Yeah.
If you're in these types of conversations and someone goes, ah, I found this new band I really like. From a business standpoint of view, the follow-up question to that is, how many views do they have on YouTube? How many followers do they have on Instagram? How many monthly listeners do they have on Spotify? Right? These are not
Why? Not the real
not not
why. What's
not
the why?
is does the singer have personality?
Yeah.
Not what does their music sound like? Not like who are they working with? Or like the follow-up question has nothing to do with the music and has everything to do about the metrics.
Yes.
And it sucks. And it's like, and people watching this would be like, man, that's a real bummer. And I don't disagree that it's not a bummer, but
Like
it
damn it.
is the reality.
It's lovely. And thank you so much for sharing all of this with us. It's been great. We've got 5 minutes left, Rob. How can
Yep.
people connect with you, find out more if they want to reach out, listen to your music, or connect with you? How could they do so?
Yeah. Well, we connected via LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram, not so actively anymore because the algorithm kind of really has sort of taken me out of it. And I just kind of feel like
I
it's a
know.
real distraction. Whereas I feel like the conversations and the connectivity on LinkedIn feels more in line with where I am as a person in the business these days.
Yeah.
Um, and and that's pretty much it. Like I manage bands at 10th Street Entertainment, and I help sell beverages from Liquid Death. So those are all the places that I'm hanging out at.
We need to get some of that in the UK. And when you're in London, please do hit me up. It'll be great to see you in person. All the best
Yes,
that we've got coming up, you know.
appreciate it.
And we've got 5 minutes left. Is there any major wins or successes you want to share with us before you go? You've already touched on it.
I feel very fortunate that I've had the opportunity to be in music for as long as I have.
Good on you.
Like I really wake up every day and I thank the gods of rock and roll to have blessed me with this opportunity. And if there's any kind of takeaway from that, it's really been part um, part persistence, part ignorance is bliss. And I feel like it's okay to be a little head in the clouds
Yeah.
as long as there is a consistent persisting of chasing that dream and keeping your eyes and ears open to opportunities. And those opportunities may not always be what you envision, but an opportunity is an opportunity, right? I think whenever I started, like my initial idea was I'm going to be in my own band and that own band is going to reach a level of success. That is not what happened, but the opportunity to play in successful bands still led to a similar situation. It just wasn't the initial goal, but I kept my eyes and ears open for opportunities and was prepared and ready to step into those opportunities. And I feel like I've seen that kind of happen in a multitude of ways, in various stages. So that would be my sort of parting words of advice.
Good on you. Thank you ever so much. This is so enlightening. This has been a great episode. Thank you ever so much, and we'll speak again soon.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.